Yo, man, listen, it is good to talk to you, bro.
But I appreciate it, man.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because we used to run into each other all the time at Comic Con, and I had my godson, well, my adopted godson. Every time I go to LA, a lot of times it's because of the LA Comic Con. I grab my, my godson. He's a genius, knows every character in the world, and not just comics, like every character in the world.
Right.
And I would bump into you and Miles, right? And I'm like, Miles got a good dad, like boom, he a good dad, like he really representing and all that good shit.
Okay.
And then I look you up, when this, talking about this rap stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold up, this is Wildchild from the Lootpack.
What up? Yeah, man.
I'm dumbfounded when I just make this discovery. I'm like,
What up?
hold up.
What up?
Now this is a different conversation. This is a different interview. This is not Miles' dad starting to rap in his, in his later years or whatever. So,
yeah.
First of all, talk about your career now as a rapper. How are people seeing it? I mean, do people instantly make that connection?
You know what? It's off and on. Some people do make the connection, but it's taken a while. I'm used to it, which is all good because, to be honest, I don't mind it when I'm with Miles or my daughter Kiana. I prefer just to be dad. Mm-hmm. But there's moments where, if I am doing anything music related, I always include them anyways. And I've done that for a while. I just think that certain situations always get us in the situations where, like, the audience or crowd that might be present at the time is not the typical music audience. Mm-hmm. So they're not making that connection up front. Right. It usually happens opposite. And where I'm at a situation where there's something music inclined or orientated, like a concert or festival. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes it's gotten reverse, where people have come up to Miles because he's recognizable, wondering why is he with me? Because they might, recognize me or whatnot and wonder what's going on. But it's been a blessing regardless. I took it all in stride. I think that not to be on a negative side, I think the aspect of, regardless of me as a dad or a musician or artist, being with my kids, I think the stigma that has always stuck with me is those certain times where I'm actually approached being with my kids, Miles in particular. And the shock is that not the fact that I'm Wildchild or his father, but I'm even present.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that sticks to me a lot that I gotta still fight through.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm a father as well. My daughter is my twin, and she's into the comics. She and I to this day, I'll say she's a freshman in college. I can say that. She's a freshman in college now. And she will call me, like, the last time the Batman movie, like, yo, when we going to see the Batman movie? I'm like, oh, okay.
Word up.
We're still doing this. Okay.
Hey, me and my daughter do the same all the time. Yeah. It's a blessing, man. You got that connection, never gets lost, and more power to you, man.
So were you a comic head too, growing up?
You know what? I was like, wish I had the comics, couldn't afford to get the comics.
Yeah.
So I just remember my grandparents like, you better go get that Sunday paper and read the cartoon section of the That's as much as you're going to get with any of those characters. But I think I was more into the superhero aspect. And it would be the more non-popular of the superheroes. So while everybody was praising Superman and Batman and all that, I was the Green Lantern dude.
Right.
I was like, that's gonna be me, right? Whatever I'm doing, if I'm breakdancing, if I'm smart in school, that's when you look, that's me. But with the comics, I don't think I really developed a love for it until I started to see more of the comic book world tie into the film world.
Okay.
And, you know, the first, obviously the kids nowadays, they obviously gravitate to the real popular ones like Iron Man and Spider-Man. I think besides Green Lantern, when I saw the film gravitate, it wasn't even Blade, it was Spawn.
Oh, okay.
For me, it was Spawn because the aspect, salute to Michael J. White, the aspect of that movie being made was right during the time frame that me and my crew and Lootpack was doing what we're doing. So I looked at that movie literally, and I refer to this in a few songs. I always thought microphones would split out of my body like Spawn, and I said that in a verse once.
Yeah.
But that movie was just so dope. Even the way the origin story, how it took him a minute to get his feet together, you know what I'm saying? Right. But he didn't realize what he had. And that was the essence of, okay, that was dope how they put that on screen. Right. But the collecting of comics, I think, didn't really come into play until my son was born. And I started taking him to comic book events, Comic-Con and so on. And then the birth of Miles Morales and meeting Stan Lee, that made me, you know, start to get my research on, especially knowing my son was learning more about it than I was, and as well as my daughter and the X-Men. Because my son's more on the Marvel side of the Avengers, but my daughter's more on the X-Men side. Okay. And I'm in the middle, like, dang, I need to get my bars up right now when it comes to the comics. That's how it kept going.
That's what's up. Yo, I gotta ask you. I was gonna save it for later, but I gotta ask you now. What do we gotta do to get Miles as Miles Morales? Like, what can we do? What can I do? You know what I'm saying? I'm in his corner.
Word up, appreciate that. Man.
Yeah.
You know what, man? I think I told Miles, as I said, social media is a blessing and a curse. You know, they see the things you're doing and it could be inspiring, but some people can alter what they're seeing because they don't know you. And what I mean by that is he once did an interview and he's really confident. He's always had really big confidence since he was a kid. So sometimes it can come off like egotistical if you don't know a person. I get that side. He mentioned his passion to be Miles Morales and how early his dream, how he started vocalizing, how he wanted to have that role very early on when he was young. And this was right at the time frame that one of the first comics became a book about Miles. And when he started touching upon that, he was doing press for Blackish. So being on the show, he's speaking upon certain things with a certain confidence. But then when they switch topics and start talking about Miles Morales, he seemed to come across really confident. And that, even though I'm there every day, everyone else is not there every day. So they're not realizing he's doing his research. It's like Stephen A. Smith with knowing this basketball. The moment NBA prospect was being looked at in college, Miles did his research. He's looking at all these facts about Miles and the background and the age and his that ethnicity and all these things. So when someone candidly starts to interview him, he came off seeming like really overconfident. And I told him, keep that passion alive. Everyone's not going to understand it because they're going to slowly start to learn. It's not about just because you look like the character or you might, be passionate about the character. Your background and being, Afro-Latino and all these things were starting to come to light that not a lot of people know. But I think to help his campaign, quote unquote, that he's trying to push out, I think it's just a matter of he's starting to understand that he's championing every Afro-Latino kid out there whose passion is to become a superhero. So regardless if he gets the role or not, just the fact that that opportunity is there, he knows it's a blessing, and he's going to champion that as well. But hey, Miles is our guy. You know, I'm there to support him just for the fact that I know his passion of wanting to take the realm of that. And, you know, and he's gotten that inspiration meeting a lot of other cast members, starting with Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace. And a lot of these guys have championed, and they've seen him grow because I could tell that the energy was there, him wanting to be the role. They looked at him as a young kid, as a fan, similar to the way he looks up to LeBron. He's a fan. But now as he's grown into a young man, they're realizing, oh, you were serious. You weren't just a fan.
Yeah.
You know, you were passionate. You weren't just, you know, geeking out on the situation at hand. So I think we just got to keep spreading that word, Miles Morales, and knock on them doors at Sony. You know what I mean? Because Marvel, I'm pretty sure Marvel has already known the kid has wanted to be, you know, their guy, quote unquote. Yeah. So we'll keep championing and speaking it out. You know, he witnessed the gentleman who plays Shang-Chi throw out an atmosphere, how he wanted that role, and social media helped his platform just, you know, get that word out. And he's seen, you know, other stories like Ryan Coogler talk about how he at one time was in the audience at Comic-Con watching, and now he's up on stage presenting what he's doing. So when Miles sees these stories, if I was him, I'd be passionate too. Like, nobody's going to tell me no. Till they tell me no, no one's going to tell me no. I'm going to keep speaking it into the atmosphere. So yeah, that's pretty much what we can do, is just keep championing that.
That's what's up. And real quick, not gonna hold you too on this topic, but shout out to him with the bars. He's got them. I would assume they came from you. Am I correct in that?
Oh, on the music side, you know what? Miles is always, I think, listening to music at a young age. I think he probably was listening to music at a younger age than I started. I was a knucklehead. Music was all around me. I had uncles on one side of my family that was on that B-boy essence, and you know, in the image, right? Then I had another uncle who was more on the education of, don't just listen. This is who particularly these artists are. But I was young, didn't appreciate that till I got older, right around, I would say junior high, because I was more into sports. And this is right when I met Madlib and DJ Rome's. So I didn't really appreciate learning about it until that time. Miles is 4 years old, hearing me play, not rap, I'm talking just straight funk, soul, and R&B. And he was appreciating the art of dance, because I would bring these videos from Europe and overseas Japan, and I would play a lot of these videos to myself, and he just was really curious. He was like a sponge.
Right.
So he was listening to music early on, which that's how the birth of his dance background started. But when it came to the rap, I never really exposed him to that. It wasn't until, I probably say the pivotal moment was when the video games, can't remember what platform they came out on, PS, might have been PlayStation. They had a game called B-Boy.
Okay.
And this game was playing songs. 4 years old, driving him to school. And he's in the back, no, I'll say 5. He's 5 years old, not over exaggerating. And he's chanting, "Duck down, home of the original gun clap." And he's mumbling every other word. The alcoholics got the beats that'll make you say, "Damn." I never showed him these songs.
Right.
So I couldn't believe, wait a minute, what? How? And I didn't play the radio in my car. I played funk and R&B, more or less, soul music. I wasn't listening to rap. So that's when he tells me these songs are in the games. So I'm like, wait, what? Are you? And I was, like I said, I was so naive. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So he's educated me that all these songs are getting in there. You know, and I'm thinking like, dang, that's crazy. Then I'm thinking, dang, maybe we should start getting our music in some of these video games. But that was when I realized his cadence was there. Yeah. And that was point one. Point two, a few months later, salute to my man, Big Daddy Kane. Ends up meeting Miles and asked Miles to kick a rap because he heard that he's doing something. Kane said, "I'm going to bring him on stage. Not because you're his father, his words to me was, I'm going to bring him on stage because he waited for the one. That was huge when he said that to me. Because any kid, you know, young is not really, you know, they're just free with it. And I guess because he saw something in him at that moment, he brought him up and he knew the cadence of, he didn't, obviously Miles doesn't know about breath control or, you know, and flows and all these different things, but it was more fun for Miles, but it seemed really natural for him. So that was the moment. But at the same time, I still didn't want to rush it. I want him just to enjoy. Yeah. If he wants to do it, he wants to do it. If not, but it took, 10 years later that, you know, he started to have a voice.
Right.
And that was powerful. And I told him that's really powerful. You have a voice, you have a platform. My worry is it'll get lost in translation because you might be following what you're a fan of.
Right.
You could be a fan of anybody you want, but that doesn't mean, because the point is to be different and be a leader, you know? And so I'm his dad trying to say that, but I'm also Wildchild trying to say that. So my wife was helping me find that balance of not being in his ear all the time. Salute to her as well. But Miles understood, and he took a lot of inspiration from like Redman and Method Man, who he encountered along his journey, and Black Eyed Peas was really significant because they were like uncles, and they're showing him, yo, you could bring a little bit of that old school where you come from, but also show them, you know, what's going on with the new school because you're that Gen Z generation.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's go. Yeah. And that's pretty much where on his project, he started to encounter, you know, cats like Slick Rick, who he opened for. Miles opened, a lot of people didn't know, he opened for Slick Rick when he was 5.
Wow.
And going on stage with Kane when he was 4 and seeing MF Doom, that was his first rap concert. So those influences have always been there in addition to me being there, but I never brought them around the concert rap stages. It was more funk. You know, we would see more George Clinton. That was his first concerts in George Clinton, and, you know, Brides of Funkenstein. That's what he was around. So the rap, I had no idea that he would want to. I thought he was just going to be, and then of course, Jaden Smith, you know, seeing him come out and be his own character, his own entity, knowing who his dad is. So those are all influences along the way. And then we would just practice freestyling. I said, this is what me and Madlib and Rome's used to do when we would, you know, and cats like Master Ace, we would just practice freestyling.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I was like, hey, it's cool to mess up. To be honest, that's the dopest thing. Yeah. Just let's free spirit. And we would just spend hours, and then the next thing you know, all of his friends and his boys, you know. So I think I started to become the cool dad at that moment. I wasn't the fossil.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much what kind of helped influence him with the free spirit and having fun, but knowing, you know, to use his voice at the same time.
Nice. He rapped for DMC at the thing. I taped it. Comic-Con, one of them Comic-Cons.
Yeah. See, that's another one. You're right.
Yeah, I was right there. DMC and me are super cool. Like, there's a lot of commonalities there. I'm pretty cool with almost everybody you mentioned, except Slick Rick. He ain't put the jewels on me yet. I'm working on that one.
Word up.
Catching a lot of feelings on social media, seeing them bejewel people. And all.
Oh man, they reached out. That was a blessing.
Oh, for real? You got it?
Yeah, they invited us to come through for a big project that he's working on, and you know, and another friend of mine pointed that out because I shared something on social when they saw Miles getting some of the jewels. It wasn't the fact that Rick was giving, you know, putting the gems on. You know, I'm having an outer body experience. So in real time, I wasn't realizing it until a friend of mine, close friend of mine, from the whole Jabberwocky Super Crew dance team, they saw this clip and they said, it wasn't the fact that Rick was doing that. What we love was Miles never lost that innocence, because when he was getting the jewels, he said, yo, Dad, are you getting this? You know, and most other people wouldn't think to say stuff like that.
Right.
You know, it's like if Michael Jordan was signing my basketball for the first time, because I'm an MJ fan.
Yeah.
You know, I'm making sure, I hope somebody's taping this. You know,
right.
I get it. You know, and that's where he came from. But that, shout out to Slick Rick and his wife Mandy. They've always been stand-up people.
Shout out to Mandy. That's the queen right there.
Yeah, for sure.
So let me ask you, man, what made you, now this is not really a comeback per se. I don't get the impression you ever stopped. I'm seeing pretty much a pretty consistent pattern, but this does feel different in that a push. I feel like this is a push. Talk about the new album. What made you do it at this time and with this energy?
Well, I would say the last project I put out was 2015, collaborating with my people's Georgianne Muldrow. And I think at that time, there was a lot going on around. It wasn't just the music. It was the album, having this tour support, not technically being signed to a label, and still trying to figure a way to push the project in the US as well as overseas. But at the same time, I'm being a father full time with my son, and he's growing. He's on a show where legally one parent has to be there significantly all the time. A lot of times it's quote unquote the moms. My wife was still working at the time, so it wasn't easy to juggle being in two places at the same time. Right. The bigger the show started getting, Blackish, this is a learning experience for us. Right. We're thankful that he's getting season 1. Here comes season 2. And we still live an hour and a half outside of LA. So when I'm doing this project just off of the energy of this is the TGIF album, and I remember getting offered to go on tour with, I believe it was either De La or Sadat X at the time from Brand Nubian, and I had to turn it down. I never turned down doing something, and it was because the timing wasn't working, because I had to be present for my son. Right. So things started adding up like that. I couldn't get the tour support that I wanted off that project. But I wasn't, how do I say, I wasn't mad or sad or disappointed because of the reasoning that came from me deciding to pause, doing the full thing that I could do with that album. Being there for my son, if that's what I'm getting out of me turning this situation down, hey, let's roll with it. Yeah. So it took a minute before my wife started to leave her job and come full time with Miles, being there present. And that's when I started working on this album, but not necessarily lyrics. It was more about the production and the music. No idea what concept-wise I was going to go with it. Mm-hmm. So a few years later, I started to work on it. But then that's when Miles started expressing his interest to do what he wanted to do. Yeah. And that was another, I wasn't going to say a moment where I paused. I said, okay, let me just focus on what he wants. Because if I go out and I'm doing all this and I just give a smidgen of advice, like any kid with their dad, it'll go in one ear, out the other ear. Yeah. And you know how it is when you got uncles sometimes, or coaches, you listen more to them sometimes more than your own dad, because you're always with your dad. Yeah. And so that's when I say, hey, if you want to do this, let's do it. Yeah. I'm not gonna say let's do it right, because there's no right or wrong way, but let's do what you feel is right for you. And that's when we slowly started working on his project. And that's why I kind of said, okay, I'm not in a rush, but what a lot of people didn't know is I was actually collecting a lot of beats and buying production for this current album at that time. Okay. So by the time he starts to dive in and he's really pretty much done, his voice changes. So we had to go with the help of DJ Rome's to help re-record his whole album. Right. So I'm having fun. I'm just sitting back and witnessing and like, yo, don't even, there's nothing, you there's no, and Miles, he's getting the jitters. I'm like, dude, you're good, independent. You're not on the label with deadlines and all these other things. So here comes 2019. Bam, COVID hits. Mm-hmm. So I hadn't even gone into what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. But when the time is right, I got the right energy on the beats around me. Yeah. Especially I got Madlib over there going, whatever you need, I got you. Mm-hmm. My boy Ono over there, whatever you need, I got you. Mm-hmm. Not realizing as I look back at what I got a whole album worth of stuff from Georgianne all the way to my people's Knots and these numerous producers. But when COVID hit, it shut everything down. Right. So that's 2008 to, was that 19? Is that 19?
Yeah.
19 going into 20. So
Yeah.
when that happens, we're trying to figure out, what does Miles want to do? Does all the work he put into it, and he was really enjoying his first, and I felt like, just like him trying out for the varsity or his first year in college, that's what I felt like with his first album. So I was like, how can we help push? So I was trying to get him push to get the support, but it was hard because once everything shut down on the quarantine, he couldn't do it. Most of his appearances, I think, were via Zoom.
Yeah.
You know, and this is right when he's wanting to be on stage with cats like Tyler the Creator and Corday and all these other guys that are showing him love.
Yeah.
And also being shocked that he had a passion for music. Right. So he couldn't do that. So I told him, in a sense, at least you got your feet wet and you did it the way you wanted to do it. He puts the project out, and that's when I say, okay, you good? You good? He goes on and he continues working on Blackish. Thankfully, they still were able to navigate filming like the NBA bubble did.
Right.
And that's when I went 1,000% with my project. I still wasn't sure where it was going to happen until social media just hit everybody in the face with all these injustices and deaths and, you know, and protests. And in the past, what we usually have done, we've always recorded just numerous songs and numerous things and, you know, pick the best of, and whatever feels right is the energy, you know. But this time, there was no way I could do that. I got kids, they're all grown. Yeah. How's it gonna feel if all this stuff is going on and I'm over here putting out a project, speaking on the MC, the B-boy, and the battling aspect, or you know, topics that just weren't what I'm seeing in front of me. Yeah. Daily. You know, it was a form of therapy. It was a form of mental health. It was, you know, so each week what I was doing as I was playing music, I got into, you know, I'm not a DJ. I give respect to all DJs, but I would play music each week just to keep that energy there. Here comes D Nice. Here comes Tabitha Brown, keeping us where we need to be, you know. But when it came to me personally, there was no way I can just put out something and start working on something if I wasn't being true to self with what's going on. Yeah. And that's where Omowale started. Yeah. You know, Georgia gave me a beat, chanting Omowale on the track. On the album, it's the last track. But in reality, that was the first beat that I bought from her. Got it. And that's what set everything off in motion when I looked up the meaning of Omowale, and, you know, the fact that to the eyes of everyone else, it kind of seemed like I hadn't put out a project in a while, because I like to be inspired. When I'm inspired, we good. Yeah. We good. If I'm not inspired, I don't want to put out something just to say we can. Right. You know, it's 2022. It's not 99. You know what I mean? And that's the aspect of what we used to do when Madlib had us all like RZA, just here's beats album, beat tapes. This was more personal for me. So I wasn't sure if the world was going to see it. And here comes Fat Beats, and they were like, let's go. Yeah. And that's how it ended up dropping.
Well, it's refreshing, man. I mean, you know, we're somewhere in the same age range, and I'm definitely happy to hear an artist talk about the stuff we're going through. And I'm not gonna say it doesn't exist, but it's pretty rare at this point. You know, we went through COVID, all that injustice. I get some people were vocal, social media wise, and using their quote unquote platform, but I don't feel like we were hearing it like that much, you know. So, you know, shout out to you for that, because it is terrible, you know. And I'm kind of like, I'm wondering in my head, is this what you really went through? Because I mean, I definitely know the terror, you know, of seeing lights in the back, in the rear view, and you ain't doing nothing wrong whatsoever, but you feel like about to have a heart attack, you know?
Yeah, and that's what made the album easy, because I was pulling from past experiences that I never spoke on. Yeah. You know, I'm telling stories in live FaceTimes or Zooms of things that I, to be honest, suppressed myself, because once I had children, they kind of kept me positive, you know. There was a time frame that I might have went a different path as far as retaliating, always assuming all law enforcement are quote unquote like this. You know, having a brother-in-law who was in law enforcement gave me you know, there's ups and downs, and everyone has their own stories. But but to not speak upon it, it was just too hard not to do. Yeah. It was just too much going on. And I don't really like to say that I'm an activist, but if an activist was speaking, I'd be front row and center, ready to speak my side of it. So when I saw Ben Crump and Tamika Mallory and, you know, Kweli and all these other cats, it was like, there's no way I can't speak on some of these things because it's happening daily. Like a lot of the things I'm talking about, and this was another thing that hit me, a lot of things I was talking about, I did have concern that there was a moment when someone mentioned to me, you're speaking so much on reality. By the time the project comes out, will those same realities be in the present mind for it to resonate to everybody? My instant comeback was, that's just the surface.
Right.
Everything else is really reminding us of what was happening way back when. There's just more cameras around.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the day I dropped the video for, I believe it was Manifesting, which basically is, the title came from my thoughts that any given day a Black man or brown man can't go through what we're seeing. Now, on any given day. And that's why I reenacted the Lieutenant Coran Nazario from Virginia, who went through what he went through. On any given day, these things can happen. When Manifesting was released, the same day, I wake up and I'm seeing Ryan Coogler going through what he went through. And in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, it was like reassurance of what I was already thinking when I was recording the song, that it doesn't matter if it's yesterday, tomorrow, whatever, it's not going to stop. And I understand the concept of what people quote unquote say trauma porn, and, you know, and, but things have to change. Things have to change. And speaking upon it, I get it, because it took a toll when, you know, with the situation of George Floyd and all these other things. I get that.
Yeah.
But ignorance is even worse.
Absolutely.
That's the thing that's even worse.
And not for nothing, right now we're, you know, everything's about, you know, the Ukraine and whatever else is, you know, going on, COVID, whatever. And that topic has been sort of not even gently. I'm not even gonna say gently. It's just been shoved to the side. Like, all right, we had our time with that, done. It's over. It's not a thing anymore. So yeah, it's and you know it's still going on. You know, it's it is absolutely still going on. But
yeah, we're in a world, we're in a society now where, just like music, it's almost resembling music. Whatever's hot right now, and the ears are quicker than it used to be. These topics will go on for a while, and then whatever's hot now, boom. What's next? Feed me some more. You know, consumption. Next topic, on to the next. And I mean, yeah, like I said, social media is a blessing and a curse. What would have happened if we didn't see that video of George Floyd?
Absolutely.
How long, you know, that video just sparked another video, but at the same time, you know, it seems like video after video after video, you know, I was thankful. Don't get me wrong, I was thankful, but I said it in the music, we still got a lot of work to do. So yeah, I'm happy 45's out the office, but we still got a lot more work. Don't get things twisted. You know, I'm still thinking what the family of Emmett Till went through. You know what I'm saying? But we're in 2022. It's just nothing's technically changed, but some things have changed. Yeah. It's just how are we maneuvering to keep moving forward as a people. And like I said, that's why in the video, it's gonna always be someone that we're consoling, another family member we're consoling for something senseless that didn't need to happen. You know, and I'm sure you're aware of all the current things that are going on right now. You know, it's hard, but you know, someone's got to be there to speak on it. You know, and that's why I'm thankful for Miles even being on a show like Blackish, where they're even able to touch on certain things on primetime TV. You know, and get that conversation started of those certain topics. Yeah,
they go in. You know, I have to sort of ask you, just sort of a shift in the topic. You know, I don't want to put my opinion. Well, you know what? I'll put my opinion on it. When hip hop from the West Coast was super duper gangster rap, By the way, I can tell you this. I used to rap. I never talked about it. All right. But your boy opened for the Alcoholics one time at
Wow.
Cheney University. It's a long time ago, long time ago. But it was J. Rue the Damager, Method Man, and the Alcoholics. And
Wow, that's a classic one. Which university was this?
This was Cheney University, black school. In Pennsylvania. I was petrified. I ain't gonna lie, I was scared. I went to a pre-WI, predominantly white institution, and being in front of an all-black crowd, like Cheney, kind of made me a little nervous. Anyway, long story short, I had so much respect for that movement. Hyro, Lootpack, Alcoholics, King T, even, you know what I mean? Like everything, really. But I did love the fact that you guys kind of seemed to, and I don't want to put my East Coast thoughts on it, but represented a little more lyricism, a little more, thoughtfulness. I don't know what to put to it, and I don't want to, put my little 2 cents on it. But I respected it tremendously. What y'all brought to the table. From your point of view, being a lyricist that came up in that period. Can you tell us like what it was like, so to speak? Because I mean, there's like millions of Dr. Dre docs. There's a trillion Snoop Dogg, Death Row, and all of that. Same thing with Bad Boy and Biggie and them and Def Jam, but not so much about like J. Rue the Damager or EPMD or some of the others. So I'm always interested in the untold stories of. And there are a couple documentaries I've seen, but what's your thoughts on living it?
For us, we just love being free. We were inspired by a lot of people. And I think for me, the dopest thing was to join a group with 3 different ears, because I had my opinions and Madlib had his opinions and Rome's had his. I watched them and it's like we fed off of each other. I just remember the one thing we loved was the fact that when we were doing our thing or starting to do our thing, what was being released in that time frame it was a combination of the quote unquote skill with lyricism, or I'm not gonna say skill, I would say it's like sports. When someone's just playing basketball just to be playing basketball, but you could tell when someone's putting work behind their craft of playing basketball. So it was the same thing with music. But also, we were just getting flooded with every time something was coming out, everyone, it seemed like everyone's agenda was definitely to be different than the next, Right. I tried to tell my son, there was a time when I'm playing him funk music, and it seemed like there was a time where a lot of beats were the same, cadences were the same, and rhythms were the same. It's because everyone was trying to make it because they might have heard or thought this is the key to make. But it seemed like when hip hop, that's why people talk about the golden era. It just seemed, the reason why I say that is everyone coming out at that time frame was trying to be different. East, West, Midwest, all different, inspiring each other, trying to step their game up because of one another. And we were inspired by that. Yes, we gravitated more to the lyricism, which a lot of people at that time thought was more coming out of the East Coast. Whereas the West Coast, it was 100% more what you were living, the picture you were painting. So that's why you were getting that vibe more from the West than this. And then the Midwest came with the music that made you dance, and in Miami, and the dance aspect, what would hit you first.
Right.
When we came up, we were trying to encapsulate all that. Right. I love dance. I came from dance. A lot of people don't know, we used to roll up on Soul Train when Don Cornelius was still up in there. So I was always into dance. Yeah. But then I started getting into the MCing aspect, and then I hear this group, Ultramagnetic MCs and Freestyle Fellowship.
Yeah.
Tribe Called Quest. So different.
Yeah.
Brand Nubian. I'm saying those groups because those are the groups that was first hitting us. Obviously, everyone was influenced by Run DMC. Obviously, everyone was influenced by Eric B and Rakim.
Yeah.
But then you got King T.
Right.
Mixed Master Spade. You know, and so when I'm hearing these such a different variety of it, that's what got us into it. But so when I met Madlib, I was trying to do a demo for myself. It wasn't until we just said, you know what, don't focus on the demo. It almost reminded, when I'm watching that documentary of the Wu-Tang, the series, it reminded me of us, because RZA had a vision, and he never said his vision.
Right.
You notice in that series, if they're really true to what he was really doing, he never said his vision. He just was like, all right, don't worry about it. Just do it you. Don't worry about it. I'll put the pieces together. Boom. That's what Madlib did for our whole crew. Yeah. Literally. It happened to be the Lootpack that came out first, yes. But that wasn't an agenda. That was just because of the timing. Whoever is ready, that's pretty much what's going to end up happening. So when we came out, I just loved the energy of what was coming out being so different. And then here comes the Alcoholics, who also sounded different, who didn't fit the stigma of quote unquote where they live, who didn't fit the stigma of what they should speak on and rap about. It was being true to self. Yeah. And I remember when I heard them, I thought the same with them. And I remember Tash telling me that's what he thought about us. Right. Because he thought, most people wouldn't, sound like, and that's why that connection was there. And it was just a blessing. Shout out to the Licks and King T, as well as even DJ Pooh. Got a shout DJ Pooh out. Yeah, shout out to DJ Pooh. And Broadway, who did like We're All in the Same Game. So those inspirations around that time couldn't have been any better for us. You know what I'm saying? Being young, we were still learning. You know what I mean? We were young kids. We were like freshmen on a varsity team. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. We were different. I mean, I'm not going to say we was quiet, but we were trying to let our voice heard, but we didn't even know what our voice would sound. And that was the energy we was trying to bring. So shout out to the Liquid crew, and that's like, I got to shout out Defari, Saphir, Field Trip, yes. Saphir. Yes, Saphir, and even like the hieroglyphics, you know what I'm saying? Being so different. The whole Hyrule, same thing. It was emulating similarities that we didn't know about. Yeah. Even all the way to Detroit. We didn't know the vibe of what Dilla was doing with all of his peeps around there. We didn't learn that till the years after he was doing the same. So everybody had that kind of nucleus, like JD probably was doing in Atlanta with certain groups. And to us, that was like what the Liquid crew was bringing. So I'm just thankful to even be a part of history on that.
Man, you making me smile just thinking about that, man. And I used to DJ on air as a radio personality, so I was getting every vinyl you could imagine. I haven't paid for music. I mean, I ain't paid for music in forever, so I'm not. That's a whole nother story. I used to get.
You don't get all the DJs mad. I used to go hunt for those records, and you just get them.
I used to get them. Yeah, it was beautiful. And back in the day, when I was doing this, for the most part, they didn't care about hip hop. So I was just taking the stuff home. And I don't know, man. I just loved, as a hip hop head, I'm like, it's like driving me a little crazy right now. Like, I just did a funny meme. I might post it on IG, I might not. But it says no hip hop for old men. And I just superimposed my face on the poster, and that it's a bit extreme. I love hip hop to this day, and I still am happy with current hip hop artists like yourself and others, right? So don't get me messed up. But I will say, respectfully, I will say this respectfully. In the background, I have a picture of Tekashi 6ix9ine, and on this side, Trippie Redd, and I just picked them because they were the two most visually jarring faces to put behind me. But I want to ask you, what are your feelings on hip hop now? Coming from your walk, we both have a hip hop walk that's valid or whatever, but Sometimes it drives me crazy, like last night, and then sometimes I'm like, I gotta listen to that. You know, I can listen to whatever I want.
Right. You know what? I still love discovering new energy. Coca Nostra, Villain Park, Corday. When I see energy like that still existing, 2022, I'm like, the gods must be crazy. You know, like, but I say that because Toby Nwigwe, it's just dope because hip hop was always meant to grow. It wasn't meant to be in a box.
Right. Yes.
Which I do get. I'm a little biased. That's because of the time frame. I was born in 73, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The birth of hip hop and all these things. So I understand it. It took me a while to understand. Hip hop is meant to grow.
Yeah.
But when I really started to more understand was once I had kids, because their ear is not my ear.
Yeah.
And I'm with them daily.
Yeah.
So now I find myself learning through them what their new taste on music is, what their new influences is. But then it's hard not to be like, okay. And this takes me back to when I used to work at a record store. Because this is me. I'm going to pause that story. I'm going to tell you when people would come in the record store, it reminds me of right now. What they would do is they didn't know what they were listening to. They just heard something on the radio and it sounded like this and it's hot. Yeah. So can you give me whatever that is? So they didn't know. So they needed guidance. They just want to get the hot to go along with the pattern of what the radio, quote unquote, is saying what's hot.
Yeah.
That is social media now.
Yeah. This
is what's hot. This is what we think, you know. I might not know the lyrics. I may know the lyrics, but I'm more beat driven on this song. I'm more, this is hot. I'm more pressured because everyone else is saying this is hot. So that I get, and it comes with the territory. I'm not mad, but sometimes I'm saying, is there anything wrong with some extra substance in there though? Yeah. Is there anything wrong? Can we, you know, those were the things that I would usually start to say to my son and, you know, sometimes to my daughter, but more to my son. And then when my son coming from the world of old school at his age, which is not, is rare to see, he was educating me. No, listen to this. No, okay, listen to, you know what? Based on your temper knowledge, check this out. So we would apply that to music as well as sports.
Right.
You like Michael Jordan, but look, did you know LeBron? No, you need to listen to this stat. You're not going to want to hear it. But look, LeBron passed Jordan and blah, blah, blah. This is what's going on. And my respect started to increase more because it opened up my eyes to be not so close-minded. Because I was like, this is hip hop though. Right. This is, you know, and then, you know, salute to LL for the, you know, what he had with Rock the Bells and created. I heard interviews talking about how some people stayed in their own ways with what they thought hip hop is, and they can't accept what the new generation is doing. They had reasons I can relate to, but then they went a little further overboard. And that's just because, like in life, and I use a lot of analogies, like with sports, Michael Jordan got paid such and such then. We know what he brought. An athlete like that right now would probably be getting paid way more, but not maybe delivering the same that Michael Jordan delivered, because it's about the hype and all these things, which is not too, you know, far off what major labels and independent artists have always gone through. So it's like, how do you push the envelope and keep hip hop going? As long as everybody's coming different and it's something captivating, maybe it's like, I got to start opening my eyes more. So he'll take me, for example, he took me to a Playboy Carti concert. You know, he took me to, you know, and he's educated me on I don't want to say it wrong. Is it XXX, Triple X?
Yeah.
Right?
I can't say that name to save my life, by the way.
Yeah, he's educated me on other artists outside, but then he'll come back and be like, I know you may not fully download Drake daily, but check out this one song that Drake did. And it started to remind me that how we used to listen to albums and be aware of not the single, the dope album cut.
Right.
This certain song or this lyric or what he meant by this title and things like that. I started realizing, oh, damn, you paying attention to Okay. Maybe I did do something right, you know.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
my point is, it got me to start to appreciate a different ear, a younger ear, a fresher ear, and but I'm still gonna say, obviously, the golden era is my favorite time period.
Absolutely.
But I love being inspired by the new.
Yeah.
And so when I do see other artists that I was naming earlier come out with that energy, it's like, okay, you know, let's go. Hip
Yeah.
hop still lasts. It's got to keep growing. It's got to keep different because otherwise it might have faded away if it stayed stagnant.
Absolutely. Yeah,
It
for
might
sure.
fade away. You know what I'm saying? So it's all good. But
I can totally relate to what you're saying because my daughter is very similar. I didn't raise her on hip hop at all. I raised her on MIA and Janelle Monáe. I wanted her to have my eclectic taste in music.
yes,
So, we listen to a lot of everything, rock and roll, like Corn. I mean, even, just literally everything.
yep,
And so, and every now and then we sprinkle some hip hop. It would always be edited.
right.
A lot of Jay-Z. She loves Jay-Z to this day. 444 is one of our common albums. And now she has her own mind and her own voice. And so, but like you said, she'll bring to me stuff she thinks I like. So she discovered G Herbo. I'm like, yeah, I already know G Herbo, but she'll bring what she thinks I'll like about G Herbo or
Right.
Chief Keef. Even Chief Keef got a song.
Right.
I'm like, oh God, here we go. But then I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
that
right.
beat pops. Okay.
Right.
So it's kind of dope. It kind of reminds me of me and my dad. My dad was a James Brown man
Yep.
to the death. Called James Brown the godfather of soul and hip hop. He would always drive me nuts with that. But
That's it. He's kind of not wrong on that. I'm telling you right now.
right.
When I met Madlib, I know this sounds crazy for a lot of cats to hear, but we might listen to 2 albums rap wise that might have dropped, but the other 80%, James Brown was on repeat.
Right. Yeah.
Between Madlib and Mother Boy Can't Kick, who was another producer who we came up with, we always listened to James Brown. And what he was listening to? That's when I realized I respected Madlib's variety of production. Yeah. They would always comment on drum patterns, samples. What were they smoking in the studio when they did that?
Right.
But I wasn't getting it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I get it now, but at the time I wasn't getting it. He was studying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So for sure, he wasn't wrong on that.
Amazing. So listen, I gotta get, as we wind down, we ask everybody this question.
Yeah.
And you're a good one because you're a master. Give us your top 5 dead or alive. Now, I'm gonna let you off the hook just a little bit. Like, this is getting harder and harder. Hip hop's almost 50 years old. This is especially for someone who's kind of lived it for the whole, the whole haul. But I'm gonna just say this: if you can name your top 5 influences, those that impacted you the most, you kind of touched on some of them. But if you could do that, that'd be good enough. Or if you want to take the ultimate challenge and have a definitive top 5, that's the more daring kind of way to go about it. But we'll take either one.
So you mean top 5 artists or albums?
Artists.
Top 5 artists. Ooh.
And by the way, do not feel obligated to put Pac and Big. We've kind of put them in the Hall of Fame. You could say them, but we kind of put them in a special zone because,
Before I give you the top 5, when it comes to Pac and Big, I wouldn't say that they're not on my top 5. Okay. But I do agree for the world, they probably could be in the top 5 because of their impact at that particular time, in that particular moment, and the timeless energy that they gave for the world.
Yeah.
But I have a different opinion. It's like I say, there's Superman, there's Batman, but not everything, not everything would influence me just because it's in everyone's eye.
Yep.
So with that being said, let me see if I can break this top 5 down, because that is a hard one. We've done it numerous times and sometimes I've changed, but I would say I'm chronologically going in year order.
Okay.
So I don't forget and then think at 2 a.m. tomorrow, damn it, I said the wrong way. You know, SOS band.
Ooh, okay, wait a minute. No. Don't stop me there. But by the way, I was talking MCs, but I definitely want to hear.
Oh, hip hop. Gotcha.
No. Don't stop though. Just go. Just okay. I want to hear this because I love the SOS band. So I gotta hear where your brain is going on this. So forget that. Just go, keep going.
Gotcha.
Keep going.
Yeah, SOS band. Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
Brand Nubian.
Ooh, okay.
Special Ed.
Okay. Shout out to Special Ed. Damn, that's a good one.
And I gotta say Busta Rhymes.
And Busta Rhymes. Oh my God.
I could briefly say why. It won't take long. SOS band. I'm telling you, man. You know how I'm almost coming up to 50, but I'm 48 years old. Or 47, I'll be 48. But the crazy thing is, I didn't know for the longest time Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis had a lot to play with some of the stuff they've done with that group. But that group, on any given day, a lot of the production that they did, even the vocals, I would love to throw my verses on some of their songs. But whether I'm thinking of hip hop, whether I'm thinking of dance, whether I'm thinking grown folk, you know, just dancing with my wife or whatnot, all aboard. I almost gave you Guy in that one era. I almost gave you Guy, but those that was regarding SOS band. Stevie Wonder, ridiculously inspirational.
Absolutely.
Everything he's done, you know, because I think Stevie is just like basically a younger version of Ray Charles, you know what I'm saying? But with Stevie, he added the R&B and soul, but that funk and that free energy. You know what I'm saying? You would the vibe I remember was his energy was so free, you would never think he was blind.
Absolutely. He did an album dedicated to plants. I'm like,
yeah, but, right.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you know, I remember when I went to a benefit from Stevie and one of my other favorite rap groups, which is Houdini, was playing with Stevie. So I'm like, I'm looking around, why is no one else about to jump up and rush the stage like me? Like everyone was just like, oh, that's what's up. You know? I was like, do you understand? You know, I'm doing like, and the show was over. Yeah. Lights turn on. Everyone gets up and start walking. Stevie grabs the mic. Yo, someone kick a freestyle.
Wow.
Yo, who's about to? This is Stevie. Yeah. It was making Houdini awkward because they were like, does anyone know that Stevie's beatboxing right now? Like that's what I'm that.
Right.
Come on, you can't, you know.
Yeah.
Of course you could say Michael Jackson, but like Michael is on that vibe of Biggie, Tupac, and you know, for the world. But for me, Stevie, and then where did I go? Where else did I say?
You said Brand Nubian special.
Yes, Brand Nubian. Because the energy of the production with the rhymes and the different MCs on that was my first, I think, energy for a group. I want to say EPMD. I was ready to give you EPMD, but EPMD didn't hit me till I saw the videos. I saw the videos and they had the dancers. That's why I almost gave you EPMD, but Brand Nubian is when I first heard. Yeah. You know, and it was actually Masters of Ceremony when Puba was in the group Masters of Ceremony.
Yeah.
When all that happened. So Brand Nubian, and then here comes Special Ed. And it just seemed like effortlessly the wordplay, and he was fly with it. So salute to my homie Special Ed. You know, the wordplay just basically defined skill. Special Ed is like Allen Iverson.
Right.
You know, I ain't got to be the best, but I'm going to be the best at what I do. And you probably can't do what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it effortlessly with, you know. And then Busta Rhymes, the energy, you know what I'm saying? Calm demeanor until the music drops.
Yeah.
To this day, that's Busta Rhymes. To this day, that was Busta. So we all saw it when we saw Leaders, you know what I'm saying? The energy, you know, and the voice, you know, I was always really captivated by someone's voice like Rakim and Guru, and Busta had that and then some. So that's why I gave you those 5.
Okay. Any chance you want to try the 5 MCs or no?
MC? Okay. All right. Top 5 MCs. Cool G Rap.
Woo! Hey.
Pharoah Monch.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Busta Rhymes.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, this is a Micah 9.
From
Freestyle Fellowship.
But yeah. Okay. He's
and I ain't gonna front. There's so many. I'm gonna say myself. Damn it.
Ahead. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I like to champion myself, but I spent years saluting everyone else. But I'm gonna take this moment to just, I gotta say myself. If I didn't think I was on that level, I wouldn't be an MC.
Hey, there you go, bro. And you know what, man? I'm gonna keep it real with you. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, come on, dude. Like, really? You gonna say? But I'll let you do that, man, because I appreciate the work. I appreciate you, first of all. And I'm not gonna lie, it took me a while before I made the connection. And then when I do, my brain, like, I had to put myself back together again because I was blown away. But that's what's up. And furthermore, I feel like you've really steadfastly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you've really fought for your legacy to this day. Would you? Is that accurate? Like, I mean,
yeah, pretty much. I mean, I didn't have a big street team behind me, PR and all that good stuff. So, you know, shoot, where do we come from? We come from the MySpace days, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think having that voice was something that took me a while to even grow into.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do remember when we first met Exhibit, shout out to X, he was real vocal from jump, and people saw the special vibe that he had in him. So when it came to the videos and all these opportunities on stage, he was always front and center. And that sparked him to get seen. Lootpack was always in the back. There's videos that we were in, people would be like, wait, y'all was in that video? That's because we were not trying to be center attention.
Right.
You know? And then when I started hearing stories about Dilla being the same and, you know, and other, you know, similar, you know, vibe, it wasn't about the attention. It was about, are we bringing what we want to bring to the table? But it just took a while for everyone else to see that. Mm-hmm. Alcoholics saw it. But yeah, we just kind of like, I'm not gonna say stayed in the background because we were shy. We stayed in the background like hungry, ready. So when that moment is ours, don't get it twisted. It's on and popping. And that's kind of like where I got my name Wildchild, because people were like, I was always calm and non-vocal. But when the beat came on, it was like, wait, what? Whoa. You know, I mean, it was like an awkward compliment.
Yeah.
It was like, just because I'm quiet doesn't mean I'm not ready to give you what I'm ready to give you. It's just, but I get it. Because I didn't drink, I didn't smoke.
Right.
You know, but the energy was just, you know, because I was enjoying it. You know what I'm saying? I got to go full out. It's like playing ball. You don't know what this dude on the court could be like when you see him dressed up in a suit. You don't know when he steps on the court. Yo, did you see my guy right there? That was the essence. Then I remember the first time the Alcoholics had us in the studio, and they were like, you know, I was gonna make you do the verse again, but you first take,
right?
You know, and I was like, word up, and that's when I knew, okay, you know, that's all I need. If I got the assurance of the homies, then it's all good.
Yeah, I could totally. Oh my God, yo, I didn't smoke or drink either, and I'm like, I didn't. Well, I don't want to say when I did take my first drink, but I was old. I was way old, and I was in the midst of a divorce and all that. So there's a whole lot going on there.
Right,
but but through my formative years, like all those years, I didn't drink or smoke. And I was like, I look back and I'm like, how did I do that? It was like, St. Ides commercials everywhere. One of my favorites, Redman, was the biggest smoker. Cypress Hill too at the time.
Come on.
How did that happen?
I said the same thing. People always ask me, so when you and Madlib used to smoke, I'm like, nah, dude, I never smoked. Right. That's how the song Weeded It ended up coming up. But shoot, I didn't really need to because I was always getting the secondhand smoke all the time. right. And oh no, you know what I'm saying? And but no, even Rome's too. Like it's probably because I was into sports. I never really had downtime to want to, you know. I had coaches that had me driven on health and workout ethics and all these things when I was in high school. So going into my first year in college, that wasn't really around.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that was a necessity, or I guess you can quite say. I know through the years people say that might enhance the way you do your art and things like that, which I ended up growing in time, think, okay, let me try a little something. But it didn't reassure me. Yeah. But I think I want to give a shout out to all of my crew who's always been around me, knowing that I wasn't the one to drink and smoke, and respected me still the same for that. Yeah. That was the one thing I definitely will say, because yes, I was older, so it wasn't like a peer pressure thing, but you know how it is. You got boys that look at you different because you don't. Yeah, I know. You don't get invited to the VIP nights or whatnot because you ain't that, but they always respected that. So I want to shout out CDP. CDP is the crew.
Definitely. Dope. So any final words for the people, man? This has been a great conversation, man. Appreciate it.
I would definitely just like to say, man, when it comes to this hip hop thing, regardless of every role in front and behind the camera, do what you got to do to keep moving the culture forward. It doesn't have to be just with rap. It could be with dance. It could be with art, graph writing, or especially the DJ who don't get a lot of recognition to this day. I always say, respect that art form. You can still do what you got to do to make yourself move forward, but always give love to the art form and realize that there's a lot of ears listening. Because something you could say could be pivotal to the younger generation. Other than that, as far as a father and husband, to all the other fathers out there, just keep striving to be in your kid's life as much as you can. Because 2022 and on, we need it more than any time. Yeah, so absolutely. Definitely.
I appreciate you, bro. Salute.
Yeah, you too. Appreciate it, man. Thanks again.
No doubt. I'm gonna hit you up on DM and everything. I'm gonna send you my info just if you need anything or whatever. The other side of this is and this will be edited out, but it is kind of a battle being fought on the hip hop side. Like the algorithms, for example, and like Spotify and YouTube, and it's like, yo, y'all giving this, like the algorithm just lights up for, if you take your shirt off, you got a few guns in there or whatever, or you talking crazy, the algorithm lights up. And then and then on the other side, it becomes increasingly difficult to represent a certain type of hip hop without even cater. If you don't cater to some extent to this crazy shit, you're gonna have a hard fight for real.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's why I said this album, Omowale, I kind of just put it out for the people, because I kind of I'm not gonna say I put the business side, but this album was more of a therapeutic journey for myself, as well as others that might go through similar things that I speak on. But and on another note, that's why I look up to Mos Def and Kweli, what they're doing with their new project coming out. Because it's true. It's just a new form of what was going on with radio play.
True. Yeah. Very true. Yeah, very true. Yeah. So, all right. Well, cool, bro. Man, salute, man. I'll get to the business of editing this and trying to make it as interesting for social media as possible.
No, appreciate you, man. Thanks for the time, definitely, man. Yeah, definitely. Oh, and make sure you watch the new episode, final finale tonight.
Oh
man, just make sure you have some of this. Make sure you got some of this.
Give me.
There's so much I want to give away, but I can't because I did see it.
Okay, give me. Oh man, I'm trying to think of something you could tell me for I could do a quick write up or something for the news. Just you saying it's going to be a tearjerker, basically.
Yeah. Season 8 series finale. Blackish. Shout out to my son Miles Brown, who plays Jack Johnson, as well as the rest of the cast, crew, everyone behind the scenes, all the other parents of the kids, like myself, my wife Cindy as well. Make sure y'all have some of this, because this episode, whether you watch it tonight, tomorrow on demand, in the future, when someone reminds you that you missed out on the dopest episode, it's a special, heartwarming, sorrow, all those words encapsulated in one. But being that the journey's coming to an end, it's a blessing, and you don't want to miss it. So make sure you tune in, because it's going to hit you right here. Just keep your eyes tuned, and then watch it again right after you finish watching it. Watch it twice.
Okay,
you'll understand why.
Okay, all right.
You never know what may happen.
Front and center.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate you, man.
All right, man. Stay up. Peace, man.
Peace.